Welcome. Sorry, it's take two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN radio. That's what I get for drinking my protein shake and eating my healthy bar right before going on the air.
You should have just come out of the gate with ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. It's Jerry Usher and
Merry
Debbie Georgiani.
Christmas. Yeah.
How you doing, Deb?
Good. Well, I think we're giggling and laughing because of those of you on Facebook and YouTube, you're in for a real treat because you got us both in Santa hats. So that's pretty cool. That's why we're in the
Take
festive
a good look
spirit.
because you're never going to see it again.
It's kind of funny. We both have the same hats. We must have got them at Walgreens together.
Well, I think they all pretty much look alike, don't they?
Do they really? Okay.
Yeah,
I think I got mine at Walgreens. In Arizona, you got yours in California, but still, we're in that festive spirit, and we're talking today. Well, actually, Jerry, we really should just ask the parents that have little kids listening that, we're going to be sharing some real facts, and, that may be a little bit hard for children to understand or accept, or you may not be ready. Your kids are too small to really understand the depth of, the kids may be too small to understand the depth of St. Nicholas, and so we don't want to do anything to shock the children before Christmas. So it might be best if kids aren't probably part of this discussion today. What do you think?
That's going to depend on where a family is and where you are as parents. But
yeah,
we're really asking the question today more or less for grown-ups. For those of us who have passed through the Santa Claus phase to come to understand that it's really St. Nicholas who is the great sort of the model for Santa Claus, but of course it's Jesus that we celebrate at Christmas time. But we're asking the question for you: at what point in your life did that transition take place where you went from believing in Santa Claus and sort of putting the cookies out and all of it and expecting him, listening for the pitter-patter of the reindeer on the roof? Or, my nephews, for example, Debbie, grew up, they had, once we got devices and smartphones and all this, you had sort of a program where you could track Santa Claus. You put in your location and it would tell you where Santa Claus was and how close he was getting to your home and things like this. So we just really want to know, where were you in life? What age were you? About what age, when you kind of, when Santa Claus became St. Nicholas, or
you understood the whole
or the
story
myth
better.
of Santa Claus. And none of us was traumatized by that, I don't think. The church has no teaching on this.
There are kids that are traumatized by it.
Are there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, well.
My friends, I did something I thought was very innocent at a Christmas party, and it traumatized one of my friends' children. Her child, because she had a strong belief in Santa Claus. Anyway, it was harmless. I thought it was harmless, but I guess it really did affect her. She still remembers it, and she's 30. Okay.
Well, how do you deal with this as a family? Do you have young kids? Okay. Do you play the Santa role with them? Personally, again, the church has no teaching on this, and I think it's really up to individual parents, and how you want to do that. Obviously, you want to be instilling the faith deeply within your kids, teaching them about St. Nicholas as well. So what do you do as a family? Or when you were growing up, when did Santa Claus become, sort of shift and you realize, okay, that's not really what's going on, but what is going on?
A fuller understanding of
St. Nicholas and of Christmas and the meaning of Christmas. Here's the phone number. It's 833-288-EWTN or 833-288-3986.
Okay, so we probably won't get any calls today because we got a lot of families listening, and they're like, turn off the radio for this hour. We're too close to Christmas. Why are they having this topic? Okay, so I just want to share what we did in my family. I very much loved the concept of Santa Claus growing up. We had a really big fireplace in our living room when I was a little kid. And so we did the cookies and the hot chocolate, Jerry, and then they would magically disappear the next morning. And then when I finally got older and I realized the whole big story of St. Nicholas, I used to still, as a little kid, this is no joke, I used to still, as a little kid, put out the cookies and the hot chocolate, but then I'd go back and drink it and eat it. I did. It was so silly. I don't know what I was thinking, but because they would be sitting there and they looked so appetizing. So I would eat them and drink the hot chocolate. And with my children, we taught about the St. Nicholas story and how it kind of morphed into the Santa Claus, and how the two are complementary, if you will, and to celebrate and to be excited about it, and to have that, sense of awe and just wonder with the gift giving and everything. And my kids had a really healthy understanding of Santa Claus. I think it's a very interesting concept, and I think it's a teaching moment and a good catechetical moment to really just expand their horizons as they get older. You know, they're concrete thinkers as little kids, and as they get older and they could handle more, you introduce and you really bring in the spiritual component of Saint Nicholas. So that's my take on it anyway, Jerry. It was very healthy in my family. We didn't have any traumatizing moments where it's like, oh my goodness, it wasn't any of that. So. Yeah, I think you can marry the two. I really do. If you make sure you explain the Saint Nicholas story. I would suggest that parents don't neglect the Saint Nicholas story, because I think it's very important. What do you think, Jared?
No, I agree. Here's one positive to this that I can see. And by the way, the number is 833-288-3986. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000. Might be a small data rate, but you can put in your first name and your comment there. If you're watching me and Debbie in our funny, beautiful, joyful, seasonal, silly Santa hats on YouTube and Facebook, you can post your comments there. And you can also email take2@EWTN.com. Talking about the whole Santa Claus story. There are two talks, remember, that parents have to have with their kids. You know what one of them is, and the other one is the Santa.
Birds and the bees?
Yeah, the birds and the bees, and the other one is the Santa talk at some point, or the kids just come to realize that.
Or the Easter Bunny.
Yeah. So share how you do it with your kids or when you were growing up. How was it done in your home? And here's one of the things that I could see as a positive in this, Debbie. Mm-hmm. If we present... Maybe when the kids are real young, you start them off. It's the Santa Claus figure, but what you're introducing them to is that there's somebody who cares and is giving and is generous and goes to great lengths to be generous and kind and to give gifts and so forth. And then that can easily transition into an understanding of St. Nicholas, because that's exactly what he was. Right. And of course, we remember, who is it that's the greatest, the most generous, the most giving, the most loving, who gives the greatest gifts at Christmas? It's Jesus. So I think there could be, like you said, you can marry all of those ideas, I think, is the way you put it.
Yeah, I agree. But the Christmas carols, Christmas songs, you've got, Santa Claus is coming to town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and all these things. So there is that festive side of it, I think you can incorporate. So folks, we want to hear from you. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. When did Santa Claus become St. Nicholas for you? That's what we're asking today. So please participate.
Good to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. You are the ones who make the show. And as we go deeper into Advent and closer to Christmas, we look forward to hearing your take. Today especially, we're talking today about the Santa Claus situation. Sometimes some people might call it the Santa Claus problem. But what point in your life, when did Santa Claus sort of start to fade out of your consciousness and you started to realize, maybe that wasn't totally true, but it sort of introduced you or led you into maybe a better understanding of St. Nicholas or of the whole the Christmas meaning of the Christmas season. And we're asking, how do you deal with it if you have kids right now? Maybe you are, maybe you believe this is completely out of place, to do anything other than religious, St. Nicholas, introduce your kids to St. Nicholas and Christ and all of that. So, hey, everybody's welcome. This is a conversation, no right and wrong answer. We want to hear what you have to say at 833-288-3986. Get to your calls in a minute. Just want to mention also that Mass, no better time of the year to be celebrating Mass and centering our hearts and minds on Christ and His coming than the Advent season and Lent, of course. And you get daily Mass every day, every morning at 8 Eastern Time from the EWTN Holy Mass from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel. And so you can find it again tomorrow morning and every morning at 8 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio, many of these affiliates. Okay, Deb, you got something you want to put out there, too.
I just want to say, too, we are wearing Santa hats for our Facebook and YouTube viewers. This is the things we will do for you guys to please you, okay? Just wanted to let you know. And these things are very hot. I don't know how Santa does it. But, you can feel free on your chats. Just see, if you like us to wear these the rest of the season. We'd be happy to do that for you if that would make your viewing experience more pleasurable. Wouldn't we, Jerry? I just volunteered you.
Sure. Actually, okay. I was looking at a meme that an emailer just sent us. So I'll mention that in a minute. That come to us from Michael, one of our listeners. Michael, I'll mention that in a minute. So sorry, I didn't catch what you were saying. That's why there's two of us on the show.
I was just trying to
one of us can zone out for a minute if we have to.
Yeah. This is why it takes two of us. It's really take two. It takes two of us to do
there
this show.
There you go. 3.5 years into the show, we finally reveal what the name of the show really means.
Exactly. Two halves of brains come together to make a full brain. Okay, so folks, I have to really turn serious here for a moment because this is really weighing on our hearts. This is a really serious situation. A couple months ago, a 34-year-old young mom and wife, beautiful gal, Jessica. She lives in the East Valley of Arizona. She contracted a fungal infection, a very serious fungal infection, and it has taken her eyes, part of her heart, and now part of her brain, and now her heart is failing. And she's in the hospital. She's 34 years old, and all her children want is for her to come home for Christmas. Now, folks, this is a friend of a friend of mine, and my friend Christine is sharing that this is just gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching. Please, if there's any way we can just ask the good Lord to let her come home for Christmas alive and well enough to celebrate the holidays. I don't know if even that's possible. We're asking for a major miracle. This has really taken so many parts of her body and her ability to thrive. And so please keep Jessica in your prayers. She's a wife and a mom, a beautiful gal. And this has just really destroyed her body. But she's keeping great spirits, and she's a great, great person. And all she cares about is her family. And it's just really sad. I can't get her off my mind, Jerry.
Right. Yeah, it's this is horrible anytime, but this time of year it just adds the extra. You've got the emotions going on, the joy, the peace, the family stuff, and all this, and family stuff for them is going to mean, begging God for mommy to be better and maybe to be home. So, yeah, let's take two family. We're all in this together, and don't forget on January 2nd, Debbie and I are going to introduce something to you that we think you're going to want to join us in, and it has to do with prayer throughout the year of 2019 and just praying for the show and for the world and the church and so much else. So be listening for that. So, okay, yeah, we'll pray for your friend.
Thank you. Jessica is her name. Okay, folks, we have an open phone line. Please jump on it and share with us this whole idea of your understanding of St. Nicholas. We really want to hear from you. How do you explain it to your children? How does it work in your family? When we learn and grow from each other. So please don't sit this out and be entertained by our Santa hats and all our joking around. We really want to hear from you. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. 888-203-0986. Please jump on that phone line. Okay, Stephanie was first up. Way to go, Stephanie, in Duluth, Minnesota on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Hi, thank you for
Stephanie.
having me.
Sure.
I will be praying for Jessica, too, as well.
Thank you.
She'll be in my prayers. For the Santa thing, when I was in fourth grade, I was waiting in line for the drinking fountain, and one of the girls in class was talking about how Santa wasn't real. And I was, devastated. I went home and told my mom that night, and she took me aside because I'm the oldest, and she's like, yep, Santa isn't real. And, I've been putting out cookies because the tradition was we would go look at the Christmas lights with my dad while we were getting ready for Christmas Mass for Christmas Eve, and my mom would stay back and get ready, and we'd come back and pick my mom up, and then we would end up going to Mass and come back, and Santa had came. And I loved that tradition, and now I have two kids of my own, two little girls, and our almost 5-year-old, he has been asked this one yesterday twice, are you excited for Santa? Are you excited for Christmas? And we don't celebrate Santa at our house, and we focus on, the nativity scene, and we do give gifts. So she didn't know how to answer, but she did it, politely, and she just was like, oh, well, I'm excited for Christmas. And, but she's good with that when people would ask her. But our biggest focus, my husband isn't Catholic, is focusing on the Bible and what it teaches for celebrating Christ. I like our traditions, but also being respectful of others and what they want to share and bringing joy to others as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, I'm just curious. How was the faith formation? What was the spiritual environment, if I may ask, in your home? Because you were taught Santa Claus, and then at about the age of 8, you said you learned differently. Did you have faith formation as well in your home?
Yes, my mom was actually a Sunday school teacher at our local church, and so I grew up in the faith and was concerned. And then, so I was baptized, born Catholic, and continue to practice with our kids. And we also attend a non-denominational church as well, so the kids get both kind of sides of their parents' faiths. And, but I've taught our daughters about St. Nicholas, and I have some friends who celebrate that tradition. We didn't as much growing up in Sunday school. Sometimes we put our shoes out, depending on the teacher, and get little treats. But, we had some of that growing up. And but we had Santa up until my sister was 6 years younger than me. We kept it going for a while.
Right.
But, yeah.
You could probably had to fight that urge of telling her, huh? Your baby.
It was hard. Yes. And I can't remember how she found out, but I know, being the youngest, I'm sure she found out the soonest of all of us. So,
yeah.
But she was.
Yeah. Well, here's the beauty of it. Okay, see, you had that experience in fourth grade, and then you had, your mom explain the traditions that go around. What's really beautiful about the fact that we do have Saint Nicholas to fall back on, if you will, when it comes to explaining this. I think there's can be a natural transition. Who I feel really sorry for are the children that Santa Claus has become everything, and when they do find out, and there isn't the Saint Nicholas aspect, that can be very shocking, very traumatic, because it's like, you told me something and now it's not exactly how it really is. And so with us as Christians, I think that it's a beautiful way. You can go back and forth. You can talk about how Saint Nicholas morphed into Santa Claus for the kind of the world, if you will, and then how it has its roots in Saint Nicholas, and it kind of flows beautifully. So I don't think there's really that. I think with the way your mother explained it was beautiful, and I also think too that gives us all an opportunity. Those of us who have small children, please don't neglect that part of Saint Nicholas. That story is very, very vital, and so I think this is a great call, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, well, we know for sure, Debbie, that if parents don't, I mean, even if they use the Santa Claus story at least a little bit or to a certain degree for a certain time, kids are going to find out eventually. You know, if you go out running errands someday around this time of year, kids are going to go, oh, look, there's Santa Claus. Oh, there's Santa Claus over there. Oh, look, he's over there. Mommy, we saw 12 Santa Clauses today. You know, it reminds me of, for those who are familiar, I think his name is Bob Rivers. He put out that Twisted Christmas album. You know, one of the songs was instead of Here Comes Santa Claus, it was There's Another Santa Claus. There's another Santa Claus. There's another Santa Claus there. You know, and so it's kind of a poke at, you know, how you see Santas everywhere.
Right.
But I love what you said, though, Debbie. You know, don't neglect the St. Nicholas tradition. And, of course, everything has to point to our faith, to spirituality. And the whole idea of giving gifts is what? It really points to the Magi who took their gifts to Christ, who's the greatest gift giver of all. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, there is an open phone line. Stephanie freed it up for you, so please call in at 833-288-EWTN. Again, that's 1-833-288-3986. We're talking about St. Nicholas / Santa Claus. Okay, we want to hear from you. Marianne is up next in Buffalo, New York on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Marianne. You know, Marianne, every time I say that. Yeah, Marianne, good. I just have to say, Marianne, you're so lucky. I mean, you like double dipped here. I mean, this is unbelievable. You've got Mary and Mary's mom. I mean, how does somebody become that fortunate?
I'm truly blessed.
You are. You are. Absolutely. Your mother did a great thing for you.
My parents did that purposely. You're going to make me cry.
Oh, well, you're blessed. My sister's named Marianne, too. So,
Blessed Mother and the Blessed Mother's mother.
right on, right on.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So what's your take on this? What do you think about this discussion we're having today? Do you think we're handling it in a sensitive way?
Oh, you are. Very, very much so. And I'll tell you two stories, one about me and one about my son. Many, many moons ago, when I was about 9, I became very skeptical about Santa. And I asked my parents if there was a Santa, and I didn't get a response. So that made me even more skeptical, but I still wasn't sure, and I still wanted to believe. So I had an autograph book, and what I did is I put out the cookies, and I wrote him a letter, and I said, if you're really real Santa, please sign my autograph book. I thought this is really going to be a sure thing. So when I got up on Christmas Day, there was my autograph book, and there was some very fancy writing that said Santa Claus. And the date underneath it, and I'll tell you what it was. It was 1966. And I kept looking at it and looking at it, and I said, you know what? This is my dad's writing. I know he did this just for me. So that kind of proved to me that there wasn't a Santa, but it kind of was done in a really nice way. They tried anyway. So anyway, with my son, he was probably around the same age, about 8 or 9. And it was on Christmas Eve of all times. And we had gone to Mass and went to my cousin's house, and we came home. And I went to take a shower. Now, I had all of his gifts that were hidden upstairs. That's where I used to put them in a very special place that hopefully he wouldn't find them. Well, when I got out of the shower, he is just in the living room crying his eyes out. And he goes, there's no Santa. There's no Santa. There's all my gifts are upstairs. And I just felt so horrible because it was on Christmas Eve. But the funny part about it was he goes, well, I want all of the gifts right now. And I'm going, oh, no. You can't have everything right now. I said, I will give you one gift, and that's it. So those are my two stories of what happened.
So
now, he also went to a Catholic grade school, so he was taught about St. Nicholas, and he knew about it, and I tried to emphasize that to him, but to him it just wasn't. I think at his age, he just didn't see how the two kind of connected in that way.
Right. Well, and you pointed out something I think that's important here, Joanne. You mentioned that, you know, it was your parents who played Santa Claus, quote unquote. It's always a parent, typically a parent. Sometimes it's not, but let's just say under ordinary circumstances it is. And when you discovered that, you saw it was your dad's handwriting. You know, oh, okay, this is my dad, this is my mom. instead of being sort of this shock, this trauma, whatever, or that, I was lied to or anything like this, I don't know. For some people, hopefully it's going to maybe endear you more to your parents because you're thinking, well, this was my parents who did this. They're the ones who cared for me and loved me and gave me the gifts, even under the guise of this mythical figure named Santa Claus. Do you think that occurred to you? Do you think that might have happened to you?
I think it did. I thought to myself, they really tried. He did this for me. He still wanted me to believe in a way. But yeah, it was through their love that they did that for me. Yes. Right. I do truly believe that. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I think I called you Joanne. Joanne's our next caller, and we do have a Joanne who listens to the Station of the Cross. But Marianne, it's good to hear from you. We're gonna Debbie might have something to offer here, but we're gonna hit the pause button here for just a quick second. Marianne, if you can stay with us, we would like to chat just a little bit more with you and Joanne as promised in Wickliffe, Ohio. You're going to be next, listening on the Rock, and we have Ione in Yankton, South Dakota, and we have other calls being screened by Ryan, who is the best call screener that EWTN has. And I know they have a few others, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say Ryan's the best one because he call screens for our show, Debbie. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was agreeing with you. I was nodding. See? I was going, yes.
Take two with Jerry and Debbie. When did Santa Claus become St. Nicholas and the whole Christmas reality for you?
Talking about St. Nicholas / Santa Claus today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're talking to Marianne in Buffalo, New York. And Marianne, thank you for sharing your story so very much. I just wanted to say I just could picture your dad, just really having a hard time, making sure that he just wrote something that was going to impact you and help you, and he wanted to do it and so professionally so that you would just feel, excited that you got an answer. I just think that's so beautiful. See, this is what moms and dads do. They go the extra limit. They go far beyond what they're even capable of doing just because they want their children to be happy. They want their children to be fulfilled, especially at Christmas time, which is, it points back to what Jerry said about the greatest giver of all gifts is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it's just amazing how, parents can be those earthly role models for us. I just love it, Marianne. I love your story. Anything else you'd like to share before we let you go? I'm sure you got some Christmas shopping to do.
No, not really. I don't have any Christmas shopping to do. I'm unemployed, and times are really tough right now. And thank God my son is 22, and he kind of understands that Christmas is kind of be scarce this year as far as gifts are concerned. But we have a lot of love. and that's what counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, we're going to have prayers for you, though. We want you to have an abundant 2019. So we'll be praying for that, if that's okay with you, just to surround you with that prayer. And, just always remind your son, of that great love. I think it's wonderful. And that you're right. And that's what it's all about. And we're going to be judged on that love. And that's what I've heard from so many priests and saints that have read the stories, that love is what really takes us into eternity. So you guys seem to have that, and that's a beautiful thing. And like I said at the beginning of your call, Marianne, you are blessed. So prayers are with you.
Thanks, Marianne.
I am. I do. I pray the Lady Endure of Knott's Rosary every day. And please pray for my son that he returns to the church, because I don't know what's happened to him since part of high school and college. He's just kind of lost his faith, and I just pray for him so much every night for the salvation of his soul.
Okay.
We will absolutely. You can count on it, Marianne. Well, I don't mean count on the prayers. You got those. You can count on your son coming back to Christ, because you have planted those seeds, and there's no question about that you did that. And I think there's something beautiful about the Christmas that you're going to celebrate this year. You said not going to be gifts, not going to be a lot of gifts, whatever. There's going to be love, and that's what kids want especially. They don't want stuff. They want us. And so you and your son are going to have a blessed time together. We just know that. And a whole Take Two family, let's pray for Marianne and her son and others, too, who are in a situation where, maybe they don't feel like they can do what they, quote, need to do by way of gifts and all of that. Debbie, I would love one year to just try and call for a gift-free Christmas, just in terms of stuff, items and all, not giving love and stuff like that, but just, maybe we should all just think about that. Just one year come together and just say, we're not going to put stuff under the tree. We're going to give ourselves to each other. See how that might change the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy idea. Maybe.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fabulous idea. Marianne, be assured of those prayers. We love you. Thank you so much for calling in, and we hope you have a beautiful Christmas. Thank you. Jerry, can we just share a couple things? We've got social media coming in pretty strong on this topic, okay? And I just wanted to share a couple things. These are very interesting, you guys, so listen up to this. Michelle says, my kids believed in Santa, but they knew the story of St. Nicholas and the true meaning of giving at Christmas time. First and foremost, we celebrate the birth of Jesus. The children would move. I love this. We do this at our church, Michelle. The children would move the wise men around the house until they made it to the stable. I love that. Steve says, Santa bit the dust when my sister and I hid on Christmas Eve in the living room next to the Christmas tree. Okay, Steve, that's very telling of what you and your sister did. Okay, you're not supposed to do that.
Mischievous there. A little mischievous. But
Tony says, I learned about St. Nicholas in Catholic school. Yay, way to go, Catholic school. Our parents told us Santa would come if we were good. I also was told Santa didn't exist, but by a classmate in third grade, I was shocked. And she writes, LOL. However, after finding Santa was a fairy tale, it didn't change my belief in God, not in the least. Good job.
All right.
Love it.
We're going to have some from YouTube as well. Dave, Ryan, Ann, and Shannon have weighed in there, but we're going to go back to your calls. When did Santa Claus become more St. Nicholas and more the real Christmas and this the religious realities of this season? All right, Joanne, as promised, in Wickliffe, Ohio, listening on The Rock to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Joanne. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, Joanne. How are you?
Okay. I was telling the screener that I think I always knew there was no Santa. We grew up in a home with 6 children and very poor, and there were never presents. Let me put it this way: presents were not the center of Christmas. The center of Christmas was family, Jesus' birthday, food, playing games, a lot of laughter. And that was about it, but we were so happy. And when I see Christmas now, it's just a shadow of what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is.
Somehow commercialism has just taken away the true meaning.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree, Joanne. Totally agree. And something that you said is very interesting because, words have a lot of power and they have a lot of meaning, and it's very interesting. And so when we were raising the kids, when that subject would come up, well, there is no Santa, and then there was that shock, and can you explain it to us? Well, there is. It's Saint Nicholas, and I think the secular world, the commercial world, has really taken so many of our elements and twisted them or morphed them into something that we rely on as other than God, and everything points back to God. So Saint Nicholas, for me, Santa Claus for me is Saint Nicholas, which points back to God. So, it's very interesting. I believe that since we've lost our focus in this world somewhat on God, we rely on all these other things to fulfill us, and they're never going to fill us. Never. That's the big, secret in the whole thing, the big trick in the whole thing. And Joanne, you nailed it when you just said that. We need to get back to our roots, get back to our foundation, back to our focus in God, and then everything flows from that. What do you think? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's it. The presents. I bet most people can't even remember what they got for Christmas last year. Most kids can't remember.
Most kids can't remember what they got.
They might remember playing with their cousins, or they might remember that big spaghetti dinner with all the fish. But other than that, I don't know. I just think if you don't have God and you don't have family, you don't have Christmas.
Right. Yeah, that's got to be the center of all of this. And I don't think anyone listening to this would necessarily, I did just say maybe one year we should have a gift-free Christmas, but I think generally speaking, absolutely nothing wrong with giving gifts at Christmas as long as we understand what the spirit of the season is, the real meaning of the season. We're celebrating the birth of Christ, and one of the reasons we give gifts is because the three wise men, the Magi, brought gifts to Jesus. So it's historical, it's biblical. The gifts are given at this time of year. St. Nicholas obviously was a very, very generous man, gave away so very, very much, and we have his saintly example in the church. So, giving gifts is a part of Christmas. It should be, and it probably always will be. But Joanne, as you're saying, you're right. It's got to be. We have to have our priorities straight. So, thanks for reminding us of that.
Thank you, Joanne.
And being a part of the program.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for listening to The Rock. We love The Rock. The station is doing such a great job there in Cleveland, Ohio, and the surrounding areas. So, thank you so very, very much. Jerry?
Here is an email from Jenny. Jenny emailed take2@EWTN.com. And the heading of her email, the subject line said, "Pretending about Santa can be very harmful." And here's what Jenny says in Arlington, Virginia. "Because I was so upset when I learned about Santa, I did not want to have that game with my kids. But when my son was born and having Christmas, my husband, my mother, and my friends said I should not rob him of the thrill of Santa Claus. When at the age of 7, he asked if Santa was just pretend, I said yes. He began to cry and fearfully asked if God was just pretend. That day was the beginning of his loss of trust in his parents who had lied to him, and the beginning of his religious skepticism. He has never fully recovered either deep down inside. I regret 100% the decision to play the Santa game." So, Debbie, there's a different perspective from Jenny, from her family experience.
Well, I'm not a super expert on this, but I was a religious educator for many, many years, and this used to come up every single year. And I used to share with the parents, in my opinion, just from learning from all the families over the years, is exactly this example, Jerry, that it's very important to teach the St. Nicholas story early on, and you can teach how it morphed into the worldly Santa Claus. So you can do that very easily because kids get that. They see something that they believe in, and then they see it on TV, and then it changes a little bit. So they understand that part of that commercial side. I think if you just really have to start with the St. Nicholas story. I'm a firm believer of that, Jerry. I don't know how you feel about that. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think that theme has come out throughout the entire course of this broadcast. Is you don't do one to the exclusion of the others.
Right.
Parents can be respected who do choose to go along with the Santa Claus story. But like you said, Debbie, I think it is so important. And Jenny's email is a very good example. I don't know. Maybe they did include St. Nicholas that she didn't say in her email, but it is vital that we do that. And of course, again, always, 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 we have to be pointing toward Jesus, making sure that everything is about Jesus. And then we have these other things here that, some things we go along with. St. Nicholas was a real person. We give gifts. We have a tree. All of these other things have to be done with first a foundational understanding that it's Christ's birthday, that we are preparing for and that we are celebrating, and then everything else around that has to be understood in that context, I believe, anyway.
Right.
So.
And points to Jesus. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Ione, in South Dakota on Real Presence Radio, you've been waiting so patiently. We'd like to bring you on the air. Welcome.
Thank you for taking my call, and I love your show. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, we love you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful day here. It's not snowing. So
cool.
We're very thankful for that. We don't want any more for now. Anyway, as far as St. Nicholas is concerned, when I grew up, I was at the time when I could be 7 years old to receive my first communion. And my older siblings were different because they received them at an older age. Regardless, after I and my brothers, each one of us, after we received our first communion, that is when our parents explained to us about Santa Claus and so forth. But we always knew about St. Nicholas. We would hang a stocking from a particular area in our house, and St. Nick would come to check on us. And he would bring us a piece of fruit and some peanuts and walnuts or something. But then he was going to come back again at Christmas. And then, too, we knew that Santa Claus was delivering this stuff because of the love of Jesus, because Jesus received these gifts. So he wanted us to celebrate and have some gifts also. But my parents never went to any great extremes. We had just a nice, small present of some sort, but it was nothing even wrapped. It was just on the table for each person. And then we also, before Jesus' birth, during Advent, we would go to the barn and get some nice, clean straw. And each time we did a good deed, we could put a nice, clean piece of straw in this little manger that we had, and that made the bed of Jesus, or softened the bed of Jesus. And I attempted to carry that on with our children. We did the baby Jesus in the crib area, and they always knew also about who Santa was and about St. Nicholas and how it carried through, just like I was taught. And now with our grandchildren all coming home, Grandpa sits down every Christmas. We get together whenever the whole bunch can get there, and not necessarily Christmas Day. It's like this year it'll be the 30th of December. And Grandpa sits down and reads the story of Christmas, the birth of Jesus and so forth, out of a great big coloring book that our youngest daughter had. And we sing some Christmas carols. We sing some other also, like Rudolph and so forth, but we sing some Christmas carols. And it has gone down from the oldest one. We're just gradually going down. The oldest one puts baby Jesus into the manger, into our stable area, puts baby Jesus in, and the next two in age carry a candle and set them down, one on each side of the stable. And then baby Jesus gets placed in there while the rest of us are singing Silent Night. And so we've tried very hard. Certain family doesn't permit much religion in the family, and so we're trying to do our part to make sure their children definitely know what Jesus is about.
Well, Ione, it's funny.
That's what we do for our Christmas.
Yeah, it's interesting that you just made that final comment, because I just typed, Debbie and I communicate with our show team via a chat program, and I just typed over, I said, it sounds like a liturgical celebration. And what you're doing is, this is very beautiful. It's balanced. You're trying to introduce the faith, the religious aspects, the faith aspects of this into this, and still incorporating some of the other things as well. But it sounds like it's balanced, but it's also participatory, Debbie. It sounds like, Ione, it sounds like you're getting all of the family. You mentioned Grandpa, reading the Christmas story, and of course the hay from the barn and all of this stuff. And Debbie, this is especially what young people, I think, love and are drawn to, is they get to participate in something, be a part of it, then they enter into it more fully and more deeply, not just physically, but then it takes root more in their minds and in their hearts, and just continues to percolate and germinate throughout their entire lives. I think this is a beautiful call that Ione has had.
Right, and Ione, and here's the thing: when the story is told, it especially in the family, and everybody gets to participate, it leaves a strong imprint in them in a spiritual way. So I just want to say, way to go. You have a beautiful family celebration. I think that's awesome. Thank you for sharing it. Maybe others who are listening today will say we're gonna adopt that as well. So I just want to say thank you. Anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
I would like to also comment, we have cut the Christmas gift way down. I mean, it is so cheap because we say, okay, this is Jesus' birthday. We give them a little something, nothing much to speak of, and we tell them when it's your birthday, that's when you will receive your gifts. And I personally feel that is so important because I'm just going to use the names Jimmy and Johnny. Jimmy is a good boy. He comes from a poor family. Johnny is a troublemaker. He's got problems, whatever it may be, pushing people around, being a bully, whatever. But Johnny comes from a rich family. So here, Johnny for Christmas gets a bicycle, and Jimmy, the good little boy, only gets a board game. How degrading is that to Jimmy to think I'm not good enough? Santa Claus doesn't love me like he does Johnny. And to me, that is so degrading. And like I said, our Christmas gifts and then our own children, they receive a mass. It's a novena of masses, and this money is sent to missions, and they know that we are giving to people who need it, and that's what the grandkids know, too. I know it's not very much, but we have given money to children who need something. There are people children who don't even have a ball, or they don't even have a pencil. They have to share a pencil with someone else. There are people who need it. You don't. None of our houses need it. Our house.
Right.
So,
Wow.
anyway,
powerful words. No, I think we're all listening intently and just saying, you know what, we need to rethink how we do things in our families. And I thank you, Ione, again for you sharing that, because it really helps us to, we need to hear this. We need to hear what's going on in other people's families so we can learn and grow and, become like that as well. So thank you for that. God bless you, and have a beautiful rest of your Advent and a happy Merry Christmas. Okay, can I just share something real quickly, Jerry? I just wanted to highlight, you can stay up to date on the latest EWTN TV and radio shows. You know how you can do that? By Wings. You can also stay up to date on the books and the art and CDs, DVDs from a religious catalog, plus blogs and bookmark and news and events. Boy, it's just a wealth of information. You can sign up for Wings, our weekly newsletter here at EWTN, by going to EWTN.com.
I mentioned we have a lot of other social media coming in. Dave on YouTube says, I was around 8 and not sure about Santa. On Christmas Eve, all of my older siblings wanted to open presents. To do so, they asked flat out, you don't still believe in Santa, do you? I had to say no. I didn't want to deny them their desire of opening presents for what I knew wasn't really true. Ryan, I think St. Nicholas should be first and teach that because of a great man, St. Nicholas. Then we have the joys of Santa. Very good, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Anne says Catholics should not make their children believe in Santa because it hides the importance of the birth of Jesus. So Anne is sort of down on the whole idea of Santa Claus.
Okay, let's hear what Marissa has to say in Peoria, Illinois on St. Bernadette Radio. Hi, Marissa. You got our Virtual Patience Award today on Take Two. Congratulations for that. It's a coveted award, and it's for you, Marissa.
Well, thank you. The station has been very good to us in this area. My story is a little bit different. My family came from Eastern Europe. Santa Claus and St. Nicholas are the same person to us. And in this culture, it's not a problem because Santa Claus comes before December 6th. So that was natural for me, my children, my grandchildren. Christmas is separate for us. It's the nativity, all the things that your folks have been talking about. And the only way we explain that Santa comes, see, we get our gifts on St. Nicholas, on the Feast of St. Nicholas. Christmas is entirely different. It's the arrival of Christ in this world. I love the stories of how people did their mangers. We do the same. We have our Advent wreath. Christmas is different. And the way we explain Santa Claus being here so long and the presents is I just told my kids and my grandkids, too, that St. Nicholas just has a lot more territory to cover, and it takes him a while to pass out the gifts. But he's done by the 24th of December because the 25th is Jesus' day, and nothing takes priority over that date. And it's worked very well for our family. They still enjoy, because Santa Claus is just the Western European word for St. Nicholas.
Right,
it was very easy.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You're bringing more of a cultural perspective onto this, and I was gonna say something about that early in the show. I think we've talked about this in previous years. That when you hear Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas, easily morphs into Santa Claus. So there could be a real strong connection there. But Marissa, the way you were describing, how the gifts are given, when they're open, when they're received, and so forth, it sounds like, if I was hearing you right, I mean, you've got a lot of that stuff out of the way, so that by the time Christmas comes, there is no mistaking what the focus is on, what the celebration is about, and what you should be feeling and thinking and experiencing in your minds and hearts. Debbie, I think that's certainly, it sounds like
very
one
balanced.
and probably a deeply historical way of doing it. It sounds like from the part of the world that Marissa comes from.
Yeah, that's sort of how we did it as well, Marissa. And we actually learned that from religious education long ago with my kids. And so it was seamless. It was very easy for the kids to accept it. And there wasn't that shock and that feeling of deception and everything. So I just think that's really healthy. And this is a good conversation. When Jerry first put this on the calendar, I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting because St. Nicholas, the feast day of St. Nicholas was December 6th, and so we're way past that. But, this is really good because folks are dealing with this right now with small children in their household. So I think this can be really helpful. So I just appreciate so very much you sharing your experience of this and your understanding of it for all of us to grow on. And that's what we do this show for, so that we can all grow and learn. So thank you, Marissa. God bless you.
Have a beautiful, beautiful finale to your Advent, Marissa, and a Christmas. And DJ and Catherine. DJ is in Bemidji, Minnesota, and Catherine's in Lafayette, Louisiana. We are not going to have time to put you on. If we did, we'd just give you about 10 seconds. That wouldn't be fair. So feel free to email us, take2@EWTN.com. I just wanted to mention a couple of social media comments. And by the way, Debbie, our listener on YouTube, our viewer, Michael, did send us it's from CatholicMemes.com. And I posted that at take2show.com. So anybody who wants to see the meme, it's a police officer arresting a Santa Claus with St. Nicholas standing next to him in his priestly garments and his mitre and his crozier with a bag of gifts over his shoulder. And
Beautiful.
The policeman says, "It's all good, Your Excellency. We arrested the person who tried to steal your identity."
Oh. You put that on Take Two? Good.
I posted that on take2show.com. And that is courtesy, by the way, courtesy of CatholicMemes.com. They've got some really great ones there. And that was sent by Michael via email. Michael watches the show on YouTube. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, weigh in, you guys. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, weigh in. See who looks better in the Santa hat. I personally think I look better in the Santa hat than you do, Jerry.
I think you do, too.
Although we could continue this, if you'd like us to. Actually put that in. If you want us to continue all the way through Christmas, we will be happy to please you and wear these hats. But this was we will. Yeah, I just volunteered you. Remember, we got to stick together in this. Okay. Tomorrow we're talking about wasted worrying. Oh my goodness, wasted worrying, you guys. This is going to be a great conversation. Please make sure you set your dials and you're ready to go for the Take Two show tomorrow, Jerry. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're going to talk about times when maybe we have just worried and worried and worried and things turned out great and we go, man, I didn't need to worry and worry and worry. Of course, Jesus tells us in the Bible, do not be anxious, do not worry about anything. But I know if you're like me, we do worry a lot sometimes. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Until then, Debbie and I and the entire show team, Rich, Jeff, Ryan, and everybody wish you a beautiful and blessed day.